There's no denying that McLaren makes some very, very fast cars. It's the entire raison d'etre for the company and has been since Bruce first painted a car papaya orange and stuck a kiwi on the nose. But in a world where even the incredible P1 is now looked upon as almost obsolete, how can they keep up with the competition?
Well, with this, the 720S Spider, a normal supercar with recent hypercar performance. Now, a few years ago, this car would have completely redefined the world of fast motoring. But then early this week, Ferrari announced a hybrid supercar with 1,000 brake horsepower. Suddenly 700 horsepower sounds quite sedate. But does it? Or better, can it ever feel sedate? The 720S is powered by a twin turbocharged 4-litre V8 mounted just behind me, pumping out around 710 horsepower. It's lighter than a Ferrari 488 Spider, and more importantly lighter than the 650S Spider that went before it. That means with launch control it'll do 0 to 60 in just 2.9 seconds, which is the kind of performance we expect from a competitive rallycross car. And then it'll go on to do over 200 miles an hour, even with the roof down. Speaking of which,
outside, the 720S is as striking today as it was the day it was announced. You only have to look at those astonishing air intakes, sitting where once there were headlights, to remain completely blown away by the victories of both form and function here. Whether you actually like those big holes is entirely down to you, but there's no denying they make a real statement. Remove the roof, and actually the 720S looks even better. Sometimes the removal of a small part of the roof of a supercar pays mere lip service to the way it looks, with plenty choosing to try and almost hide what's been removed. But the 720S celebrates it, removing not just what's above you, but also the glass behind, and leaving just 2 striking roll hoops still standing. It's a very 60s sports car. Think D-Type, think knobbly, or even think F1 car roll hoop. The transformation from 720S to 720S Spider means we move from McLaren's carbon fibre monocage 2 to an adaptation called monocage 2S, which means we wave goodbye to the coupe's dramatic dihedral doors and say hello to some altogether more expected entrances. Those compensate for the extra weight gained with the addition of the folding roof, and in their place you get some boring old scissor doors. So it's not all too bad. Notice too those incredible glass buttresses. Patented, of course.
when you jump into the 720S Spider to drive it, the first thing you notice, strangely, is how good the driving position is. Supercars can be difficult, they can be tricky, you can feel like you're cocooned in some kind of cage. But as soon as you get in this car, the seat is perfect. It has a little bit of extra support, but it's comfortable. The seating position is excellent. The pedals are close together, so you really have to left foot brake. It feels almost as if it was designed for heel and toe, but of course, unfortunately, there's never going to be a manual version. And the other thing that hits you is the astonishing visibility. You normally expect a supercar, especially one without a roof, to be a bit cramped, to leave you not really able to see, and manoeuvring and trying to park a car like this is normally almost impossible. But somehow McLaren have made this car feel smaller than it is. Mostly because you can see out of basically everywhere, which seems like a strange statement to make, but if you drive something like an Aventador and you try and look out of the rear window, you might as well be trying to use a microscope to look through an incredibly tiny hole. you don't care about any of that, do you? You want to know how it drives. Well, it's one of the first cars I've ever driven where you actually have to tell it that you want it to change modes. You push this button here that says active, and then you flick these nicely machined dials to put it into an active mode, and then you, in manual mode, you drop down and away you go, and the performance is astonishing, especially when you're out here in the elements. It's not the pickup that really gets you, it's not that initial burst of speed. Don't get me wrong, that is extraordinary. It's the fact that once you're going, you keep going. The acceleration just keeps coming and coming as you flick through the gears. You feel like 200 miles an hour is incredibly close. After you've hit 200 miles an hour, then you get to a corner. The story doesn't really change, fortunately. There's a movement in supercars these days for four-wheel drive, for everything to sort of sometimes be done for you, absolutely nailed down on rails. And the 720S is very much on rails, but at the same time, not. Now, let me explain. It will corner faster than anything else I think I've ever driven. It will take on some of these B-road bends with not a single problem. But once you get through them, once you're mid-corner, you stick your foot down a bit more to pull yourself through, you'll feel the shake, you'll feel a little bit of stutter from the rear, you'll feel it move around a little bit, as if the car is telling you, yes, we're doing this and we're going very fast, and I'm probably doing most of it, but you're involved, let's have some fun. We're not on the Cup 2 rubber here, we're on the standard tyres. So when you stick your foot right down, the back end does buck and weave a teeny little bit as you get going, just going, oh my god, as you push 710 horsepower through just two wheels. But that's the joy of this, that's the joy of having a supercar. What's the point, in many ways, of constantly being absolutely nailed to the road? You want that little bit of edge, you want that little bit of something more to tell you that you're involved and to tell you that you're alive. And the 720S for me really gives you that, as well as the mind-boggling performance. I mean, I very much doubt I can extract even a third of what this car's capable of. I certainly wouldn't even want to try anywhere that isn't a track, but even then it quickens the heart, it gets your pulse racing, it gets you feeling like a bit of a superhuman, and then you've just got the sky and you above you, and what a machine. It is an incredible machine.